Divisions in American politics are often played out on college campuses.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
But actions by the Trump administration against some of America's top universities are unprecedented.
I think Harvard's a disgrace.
Trump likes big, shiny objects that have lots of prestige and lots of name recognition. So it's not surprising that he's going after Harvard. As the oldest university in America, the Harvard Corporation predates the founding of the United States.
It's sort of considered the pinnacle of everything that we've prioritized on education in this country. And so I think if you're trying to remake higher education, then that is an obvious place to start.
Many of those students were troublemakers caused by the radical left lunatics in this country.
Trump and his administration are using their levers of the federal government to really extract concessions from Harvard and make an example of them for higher education at large.
And the administration has plenty of leverage.
Billions of dollars in federal government grants and contracts have been canceled.
A lot is at stake for Harvard, including its place as a home for scientific research, also potentially its reputation globally.
Two pillars of American society are going head to head, and the results could have profound effects on universities nationwide.
If Harvard can't fight back, then who can?
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The fight has just begun.
The time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left.
One of Trump's strategies to reclaim Harvard is to hit the university where it hurts, the pocketbook.
We had the federal government revoke about $2.6 billion in federal research grants.
And that's probably the most significant because Harvard is known for doing research.
Harvard studies have contributed to advances on everything from childhood cancer and Alzheimer's to new innovations in artificial intelligence.
These are very important projects that would really be for the good of not just the US, but society as a whole.
In 2024, $686 million, or 11% of its operating revenue, came from federal research grants. That's a sizable amount that's at risk, even considering Harvard's large endowment.
Harvard is the richest university with an endowment of $53 billion.
But endowments must abide by strict rules.
It does sound like a very nice pile of money, but most of that money is actually earmarked for very specific causes.
A donor gives a gift to fund the soccer team, and you can't use that to buy laboratory beakers. The gifts agreements have to be enforced.
And then the remainder, much of it is tied up in illiquid investments. And so you also can't necessarily just tap that like ATM to fund whatever sort of problems might come up.
Taxes are another point of contention.
In the first Trump administration, a tax on endowments was passed, which right now seems a little bit benign at 1.4% of net investment return.
But the latest tax bill enacted by Congress raised that to as high as 8%. Alongside this, he's suggested revoking the school's tax-exempt status.
Tax-exempt status, I mean, it's a privilege. That's really a privilege.
Technically, the president is not able to make decisions on which university or organization is in fact tax exempt. This is a decision that has to come from the IRS, but it's something that he has threatened repeatedly. Harvard benefits from its tax exempt status for not having to pay, for example, taxes on its real estate holdings, which are vast.
A Bloomberg analysis calculated the value of Harvard's tax benefits to be at least $465 million in 2023.
If Trump follows through on all of his proposed efforts, Harvard could be looking at $1 billion a year budget shortfall.
It would be destructive to Harvard, but the message that it sends to the educational community would be a very dire one.
Federal funding has also been pulled from Columbia, Princeton, Cornell, Northwestern, and others. Meanwhile, the administration has subpoenaed data on Harvard's international students.
I want to make sure that the foreign students are people that can love our country.
The federal government has control over issuing visas, and the Trump administration has tried to limit Harvard from enrolling international students. 27% of all students at Harvard are international students, and many of them pay the full price.
And this brings in the university a potential financial cushion that they could lose if the administration prevails in its efforts to take away its ability to admit these students.
A judge in Boston has issued a preliminary injunction against those efforts to ban foreign student enrollment, recognizing Harvard's argument that even the uncertainty around its ability to enroll international students can be very damaging.
Alongside all of this, the university has found itself at the center of America's culture wars.
Supreme Court sharply now curbing the use of race in college admissions.
That ruling against Harvard was seen as a victory by many Republicans.
Trump is not supportive of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, something that Harvard has been very supportive of. He'd like to get rid of them.
That same year, Israel was attacked by Hamas, which has been designated by the US and European Union as a terrorist group.
We saw in the months after that protests arise on campuses across the country, protesting US support for Israel in that conflict.
About 30 student groups put out a statement that they blamed the attack solely on Israel.
We saw reports rise of anti-Semitic harassment on campus that a lot of students were experiencing and reporting.
Criticism of how the school handled the upheaval fell heavily on Claudine Gay, Harvard's first African-American president.
Calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
It depends on the context.
It does not.
She resigned under the pressure, and allegations of plagiarism in her academic works fueled some to question her qualifications for leading Harvard in the first place.
Welcome.
Alan Garber replaced her and has taken steps to curb anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias on campus. But he's rejected government demands, saying no government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue.
Their argument is that the Trump administration's fight is not really about anti-Semitism, that it's more about trying to exert control over the university and align the university more with its own viewpoints rather than actually encouraging diversity of viewpoints.
They want to work with the administration, but at the same time, they don't agree with these methods of how the Trump administration is trying to exact change.
Another of Trump's tactics is to threaten its accreditation.
So it would be extremely painful and honestly rather unfathomable for Harvard to lose its accreditations. One of these actions would certainly be financially damaging to Harvard, but when you take them in total, it becomes much more crippling. The risk is that we sort of lose our preeminent status as a top destination for researchers and scientists.
The U.S. has to maintain competitiveness, and that means having world-leading universities, a strong NIH, and continuing to fund the breakthrough science that led to the Cambridge biotech ecosystem.
This loss of prestige may be the byproduct of a bigger campaign to reshape education entirely.
For President Trump, it's really just another way that he's used his influence and his pressure in office to sort of extract deals from stakeholders, whether it's foreign countries, whether it's businesses, and now with universities.
At a minimum, it's an effort to rethink how universities in America are funded. That has sweeping ramifications in terms of, do we then see corporates step in and take on more of a role in supporting universities? Do we see private equity firms back certain research labs because they see potential in early stage projects? And that just raises, a more existential question of do we want that?
For now, Harvard is fighting back, winning at least some temporary legal victories.
They have really become the leader when it comes to pushing back against the Trump administration.
Harvard has sued to challenge the freezing of those federal grants. They're also seeking to prevent the Trump administration from following through on its efforts to ban international student enrollment.
Since Harvard filed its lawsuit in April, it's gotten tremendous support from alumni, from faculty. People are happy that someone is finally standing up to Trump.
You sort of have another camp that, would call for trying to figure out some sort of common ground, that maybe digging in its heels is not ultimately the most effective way to attain Harvard's goals. It's not an easy balance to walk.